Welcome back to episode 2 of Clickless, where we do some scrying, some suboptimaling, and some ascending. First, I want to clear some stuff up. So, some people found the graphs from last episode confusing, so I'll clear them up. For the magic regeneration graph, the y axis is the amount of time that it takes to recharge in minutes, and I should have probably pointed that out. And x is max magic, of course, or when you're casting. For the second graph, we're finding how much CPS you're expected to find after a while, and you can find out you can approximate it yourself using this integral, and I'll give you 10 seconds to solve it. We know that the integral represents the accumulation of the rate of change or the area under the curve, which is why I used the area problem to visualize it. So with that aside, let's get into the gameplay. So I signed in and I got to playing the game. There wasn't too much to note about this part. After all, it is early mid-game, but there are some major differences from normal. For example, I was actually having trouble getting to where I normally would ascend because I can't just get a combo and then ascend in 15 minutes. So I had to do a bunch of small ascensions instead of decent, decently big, but like still sort of small ascensions, if that makes sense. There were a couple of nice moments, like the Zelda here. For whatever reason, the Zelda gave me the whole idea of Rainier combos, despite the fact that I did show off some regular combos last episode. So yeah, that kind of explains what the next few clips are gonna show. Also, I did mess up like a bunch of combos, like they weren't perfectly optimized, but should be good enough. Like here, I got a mm, Storm drop scry. I think it's actually a blab scry, but since when I confirmed it, it was a success. It turns out that storm drop, so I just used it. I'll talk about it later, though, in more detail. So first, we do need to get something out of the way. I decided to get Endless Cycle for whatever reason, and here's the footage of me doing it. So, I know this might sound a bit dumb, but my sections were like incredibly slow, considering that what I'm used to are 3 second ascensions and a 5 second ascensions, and I can't do 3 second ascensions because I don't have sugar lumps on the save. So that's kind of a bummer. I also wasn't doing spells. Well, if I did spells, then normally that brings my time up to 4 or 5 seconds. I also couldn't do any Conjure Big Good strats because I had level 2 towers at this point, which I'm kind of regretting. Like, no one has really done Conjure Big Goods or any CBG strats practically at this point. Well, I guess Nash technically counts, but like he's getting one every like 16 ascensions or so who cares? Maybe I'll upload this endless video. It's been like 4 months. Alright, it's time to explain all the scrying stuff that we'll be using later. So, I think most of us here know what scrying is. If you don't, it's where you cast Gambler's Fever Dream, and then because it's coded that way, Gambler's Fever Dream will give information about the next spell. So, like, if you cast Force the Hand of Fate with Gambler's Fever Dream, the next Force the Hand of Fate cast will have the exact same outcome, assuming you don't change anything like seasons or buffs active or something. So how does this translate into other seasons and in the opposite, like success or backfire? Well, I think we've all looked at a planner at some point in our lives, and we can see some correlations between a couple of buffs, namely Cookie Storm Drop and Building Special, and maybe Cookie Storm Drop and Sweet, or Elder Frenzy and Building Special. Well, there's a reason why this occurs. You see, every single season or like success or backfire state actually uses the exact same numbers but for different things. and you can see how they correlate on this table. Post-editing lines here. I don't think I explained this well enough, but each column is one number, and all of these numbers go into finding the outcome of Force the Hand of Fate. Let's take a minute to visualize what's happening on this table. So we're on any given Force the Hand of Fate cast, we're given two buffs. In success, it's Frenzy and Lucky, and in backfires, it's Clot and Ruin. When the buff Dragonflight isn't active, we are also given a guaranteed Click Frenzy in the pool. That is why they all have the same chances when you look at any probability table out there. Now let's add some buffs to the pool. We'll say that every single buff except for Cookie Stormdrop has been rolled in success, and only Elder Frenzy and Cursed Finger have been added to backfire. I made the top section just to show what happens when you add a bunch of buffs to the pool, but we need to look at something else right now. There are two special buffs in the pool, or that can be added to the pool, Blab and Cookie Stormdrop. These buffs basically replace the rest of the pool, and which is why Cookie Stormdrop is exactly 15, well, not exactly, but basically exactly 15%, and Blab is 10%. So let's say I cast Geometry Fever Dream, and it results in no change, and it gives me a Cookie Stormdrop that's decently big. What does this tell me about the other spells? Well, when we look at the table, we can see that call 6 was used, it has to be less than 0.15, and call 1 has to be less than 0.5, and call 9 is probably a decently big number. Now let's see how this translates into the other seasons and in Backfire. Well, all of this is pointing to a billing special in one change. There's also some other stuff that can happen, such as get higher chances of sweet in one change backfire and a 66% chance of blab in no change backfire. But these are pretty rare since the backfire number is below 0.5. And you can't exactly cast DI here, so good luck with that. Now that we know how the correlations work, let's see if you can figure out the free sugar lump and the cookie storm drop problem from earlier, and let's see if you can figure out what comes out of this, well, what will be in one change after I click this cookie storm drop. Now it's time to start talking about how I actually executed these combos, because we're somehow like 8 minutes into the video and I haven't gotten to that. I also won't be talking about any of the reindeer combos because I'm kind of embarrassed by them. But in the storm combos, of course. But anyways, we start by Ascension scrying a building special, either through a storm drop or just, a building special. Then we do some seasonals, which I was pretty lazy about. I also plant some baker's wheat just to get some free CPS out of that. And then I wait for magic so that I can dual cast because I want an Elder Frenzy building special and hopefully a Frenzy, but that doesn't always work out. In a clip earlier, you might have noticed that my veil never broke. That's because I aligned the veil to make sure that it wouldn't break on a pseudonat or anything like that. So if you didn't know, the veil is seeded, so if you click a golden cookie at the same reindeer plus all-time golden cookie clicks over and over, then it wouldn't break. But if you click some naturals, then it would break because eventually it'll get to a point where it breaks. So I would just click natural cookies and reindeer and then summon something from dragon orbs to check if it breaks or not. And then when it does break, I would just use the golden switch and I didn't use any nats in the combo. So now it's time to talk about some notable combos that happened. I think this is the first one that I've gotten of the sort. Not much to note other than the fact that I didn't actually dual cast. I think this execution is the one where the first one where I actually did dual cast, but I kind of forgot to slot Mopar here. And or Yeah, here's a pretty disappointing execution. I first of all I started at the wrong number. For some reason I thought 317 was the number for dual casting here, and then I got a really bad building special because I didn't sell all of my wizard towers. Um, I also repeat this mistake a bit later, but I don't think I'll include it. Also, someone completely forgot about some stock market achievements, so I just decided to get them in the middle. There's still a couple of easy achievements I can get, like I haven't gotten in her likeness yet, but I'll do that sometime in the future. I had a decently big frenzy draw after this, and I didn't record all of the executions in the middle, but finally this happened. Yeah, don't ask why I didn't sell my wizard towers after two mistakes with the building specials. And I didn't unfreeze the garden for some reason, so if I did unfreeze the garden, I would have hit a Vigintillion there. So my mid game overall was okay. Did make some massive mistakes. Could have done gotten some more achievements. Play optimally the whole time. But if you look at my seed lock, my garden level, and my sugar lumps, then I think you'll know what I'm doing next.